It's that time again, boys and girls. We're heading out to go car shopping. But before we do, I wanted to remind you that Dream Build 7 is now live and submissions are open. You guys have seen us transform 6 of our other VIP members' cars, and you could be the 7th. Click the link in the description below to find out more details and get your car entered today. Now let's head off the top rank and look at some amazing Japanese cars. We just walked in the yard and I've already seen a vehicle that I think needs to become part of the collection at Throtl. Ricky, you need this car in your life. This is a Honda City Cabriolet. I didn't even know cabs existed in the city. This was the car you guys may know, like the Moto Compos from Honda. There's a little motorcycle, right? And they used to fit in the back of these. So these were commuter cars. You would park your car wherever you could on the street, pop the hatch, pull the Moto Compo out the back, and ride the little motorcycle the rest of the way to work or wherever you had to go. Really neat cars. I had no idea. This was designed by Pininfarina, which you guys probably know, and if you don't, Google it, as a cabriolet. To boot, it actually has Mugen wheels on it, which is even crazier. This is a little unicorn right here. I like this. I think this is a Celica All-Track. I don't know a ton about these cars. I just know they're pretty iconic in the rally world, and I believe they were a homologation car for rallying. I do know it's all-wheel drive. It does appear to be a 4-cylinder turbo. I love all the different hood. This looks like some sort of cooler that goes straight through the hood, through this boot, into this boot, bringing cool air from the outside. You've got 2 ducts back there. The normal Celicas didn't have this. And look at the rear wing on this thing. The rear wing is insane. GT4. Look right here. Toyota Celica GT4 World Rally Champions. So this was a homologation car. I guess I should say, not that this is a rare car by any means, but it was a limited production being a homologation car. You just don't see them very often. They were never available in the US market. It just makes it unusual and unique, which is really cool. And this guy even threw some Volks on it, the TEs. I mean, man, looks like it has I don't know if these are factory Recaros. I don't think so, because they don't match the rear seats at all. Those may have been added after the fact, but it has a TRD steering wheel, a bunch of gauges. I wish I had an endless bank account. I would have so many cars. All right, well, we couldn't be here at Top Rank without at least showing you guys what a Built by Legends Skyline looks like. And here we have the Built by Legends Skyline R33 that was built in collaboration with Mines Japan. This is an iconic livery, a beautiful car, which we'll get into here in a second. And one thing I want to mention is that Top Rank USA is actually the US importer for the Built by Legends cars. And what a Built by Legends car is a chassis that either Top Rank can source for you or you can source yourself, that is delivered to a shop in Japan called Garage Yoshida, where it is completely torn down, every nut and bolt, put on a rotisserie, and beautifully restored from the ground up and put back together with all new components or restored components. First and foremost, this front bumper. It may look stock to you, but it's not. This is actually full carbon composite. And this is a single piece bumper. Built by Legends actually contracted these to be a 1-piece bumper, full carbon. And as you can see, to showcase that, they left inside the turn signal and inlet area carbon, so that you can tell this is a full carbon bumper. It just happens to be painted the green carbon, which is kind of a Mines staple. Mines cars typically almost always have this colored carbon. They've added the Nismo ducts up front, and right next to that very expensive front bumper are these very expensive headlights. The xenon headlights on an R33 can run up to like 10 grand per side, but that's the Skyline market currently, and that's just the way it is. Moving up, we have a stock grille. I don't believe that's been made out of carbon. It looks OEM, but what is carbon is this hood, and this front end is just stellar. Everything about it is perfect in my opinion. I love the Mines throwback graphics. This is kind of their signature look. I even love that they have their own little badging. Normally you'd have a GT badge here, where they've replaced that with actual Built by Legends badge, and then all the partners on the build. Garage Yoshida is the body shop that does all the restoration. Motul Oil, Recaro seats, raised wheels. One of the things that really jumps out at me in the back is this spoiler. So this is basically a R33 GTR recreated rear spoiler out of full carbon. And again, you've got that Mines green carbon twist that they've put on it. And around back, we basically just have a Mines exhaust system in full titanium. And other than that, it's pretty stock. And you know what? That's what I really love about these Built by Legends cars is they're basically a stock car that's been reimagined and basically made new again. And now this car, where it really shines is the interior. I saw this car at Ars Day last year in Japan where it was debuted. I've heard they've made a couple changes since then, but let's take a look inside because this is essentially, as I mentioned previously, a brand new R33 GTR. I mean, look at the coachworks in here. The door sills, brand new plastics, everything's been replaced. Brand new hardwares for the seats, new carpeting, Built by Legends floor mats in here, even with custom badging. These Recaro seats have been reskinned in the signature green Alcantara. They've done a two-tone on the door panels, which is really awesome. Like every piece and panel in here has basically had Coachworks done on it, except for the door pull, which being a high touch area, you don't want to do that because it's just going to get destroyed. And that's just the door and the entryway. Look inside here, look at the center console, full Alcantara wrap. All the stitching lines up from the armrest down to the panel that doesn't actually move, just a functional pocket. The stitching's carried around on the front here, up around. Looks like the transmission's been swapped to an R34 gearbox, and they've actually gone as far as to customizing the shift knob as well. It's an OE shift knob that's basically been recreated. Mainz is very known for their steering wheels and basically Alcantara armrests, boots on the shifter and the e-brake, as well as these handles. I've actually put these into my R34 as well and my R33. Well, that's the interior. As special as it is, we should probably take a look under the hood because I imagine it's probably just as nice under there. What? As expected, the dry carbon hood weighs nothing. Look at this. Oh my gosh. Wow. So nice. What I love is that they actually took this aftermarket hood. It has no skin, shows off the composite work. They've really taken a lot of care under the hood. They've got a dry carbon intake. This replaces the factory plastic component. We've got the Built by Legends $1,000 US hood prop. This is one of the coolest parts you can get for a GTR in my opinion. First of all, it's obvious this bay has been completely cleared out and resprayed. We've got a Built by Legends VIN tag here that basically says that this was basically a recreation. They've got a custom titanium strut bar in here, which is really cool. You can see they smoothed out all the welds and made it look really nice and modern. The engine is recolored in this green color to carry on that theme. When you buy one of these cars, you pay top dollar, but you get what you're paying for. This is like a museum spec quality or better, in my opinion. There's nobody in the world building a better GTR than Garage Yoshida and Built by Legends at the moment. All right, next up on the list of cars to show you guys here at Top Rank Importers is this awesome 1998 Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 5. These cars became wildly popular just a few years ago because they became legal to be imported here into America. They started to pop up left and right now, but one thing I've always loved about these Lancer Evolutions is that not only is it a rally legend, and that's basically what it was derived from, they come basically modified from Mitsubishi. So very aggressive front aero package, big fog lights on the front, rally style, massive front mount intercooler, turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, all-wheel drive, fender flares, rear wing that provides downforce. These things are basically from Mitsubishi, a race car straight off the lot, and they mod really well. Let's walk around and take a close look at this one. It does have some upgrades like these wheels. We've got some WEDs on here. These are 17-inch. And another thing that these cars came with from the factory are Brembo brakes, which is really cool. Lancer Evos always had Brembos. Inside, they also came factory with Recaro seats, which is really neat. And then they trimmed the interior panels out, the door cards and stuff like that, with the same material that was on the Recaro seats. Evos are very practical because they are a 4-door, has a full-size back seat. I'm 6 feet tall, and I fit in here quite nicely, actually. I could road trip in this car, no problem. Lots of headroom, plenty of legroom. I notice it does have an exhaust on it. Actually, that's a factory exhaust. That's how good these cars are. That is actually a factory exhaust. It sounds amazing and it looks really good too. I love the wing on these. I've always loved how it has the peak in the center and it reaches all the way up to here. It's hard to tell on this black car, but the wing actually is massive on these cars. It has an aluminum center blade and a FRP outers. So it's actually a 1, 2, 3, 4-piece wing. Pretty nuts. This one also came with the factory Momo steering wheel, like a lot of these 90s and early 2000s Japanese cars had airbag Momo wheels. Very cool. One thing I've noticed right away is the 4G63 engine. This is a very iconic valve cover and shape for these 4-cylinder turbos. Turbo sits here and air box is over here. This is some kind of aftermarket air box. It looks really cool. Very nice aluminum welds. Little blow-off valve here from BR Racing, which is a known Skyline builder, so I'm not sure. Universal line of blow-off valves apparently was available at some point. I see the factory blow-off recirc valve here is capped off as well, so when you boost this thing, you're gonna hear the whoosh, whoosh. Definitely simple, very effective package. This is definitely high on my list of cars to own one day, but let's check out the next car. This is actually the car I came here to look at today specifically. As you guys know, I recently purchased an Altec R33 GTR, very special car. I also own an Altec 260 RS, which is over in Japan until next year. I went out and visited my friend Jimmy Oakes in Connecticut, and he had a couple Altec S15s. Kind of fueled the fire a little bit more for me. I began searching for an R32 Altec. They just so happened to find one and bring one in at Top Rank here in Southern California. So I came up to take a look at it today to see if it's something that I want to add to my collection of Altecs and Skylines. As you can see, it doesn't really fit my motif. It is not white, and the reason it is not white is because it only came in this color. This is an Altec R32 4-door sedan. It only came in this green color, and this car was created as a nod to the creator or the inventor of this Skyline when he worked at Prince, Shinichiro Sakurai. And that's where the logo comes from on this car. As you can see here, they've actually applied it to quite a few parts on the car. It's an SS logo. And so you'll find this on the center caps of these special wheels for this car. I know they look like GTR wheels, but I promise you they're not. They are a variation of that, made specifically for this Altec version R32. One of the other things you'll notice is it doesn't look like a GTR in the front, and that's because it's not a GTR. It wasn't meant to be a GTR. It has its own front bumper that the styling characteristics are quite different. It's more like a GTST. However, it doesn't have a GTST hood and center grille, which is unusual, very unique for this car. You'll also notice that it has fog lights. These were optional, and this does not have a front lip like a GTR would have. Very cool car, very unique. One of the things that makes it so special is the engine inside. It has an RB26. Just like a GTR. However, it's lacking both of the turbos that the GTRs came with. Those are called RB26 DETTs. This is called an RB26 DE. Naturally aspirated inline 6-cylinder. Very cool, but instead of talking about it, let me show you guys. So as you'll notice, this side of the car looks awfully naked for an R32 Skyline, and that's because we've got no turbos. All we can see here is a grounding strap and an inline 6 and a manifold, which is really cool, really unique, and that's a factory part for this car. It came just like that, as is this piece of metal here, this heat shield, to keep the heat away from the power steering reservoir and the ABS system and the wiper motors. Very unique and cool for this car, but it does look funny, I will admit. Sitting next to this long straight 6, we usually see all these turbos and piping coming off of. It's very neat to see it in this form. One of the other things that's really cool about this is the intake manifold. It shares a lot of similarities with the RB26 DET. However, it does have a little bit of a different shape to it. It has a Tuned by Altec badge on it with the SS logo that we saw on the wheels previously. One of the things you'll notice is there is not a clutch master cylinder in here. You can see there's a plate here where a clutch master cylinder would go, but it's not. And that means one thing. That means this is an automatic RB26 DE non-turbo, 4-door in green. Not the most desirable thing in the world. What makes it interesting to me is they only made 201 of these cars worldwide. That's all that was ever produced, 201, making this very rare, very unique. So we'll walk around real quick. It does vary quite a bit from the 2-door coupe GTR. The seats are GTS seats. As you can see, it has a slush box automatic in it, leather wrapped handle, which is pretty cool. This car has 4 doors, but as you guys know, I have an R33 4-door Altec, so 4 doors is okay with me. Plenty of room in the back seat to put your friends, which is nice as well. One of the things I love about this car is this rear kind of blind thing. It's like sort of a sunshade. This was a factory component. It's kind of hard to see. It's like white plastic, almost like a Venetian blind, but as you can see, it has a Nissan logo on it. And this actually, I have a catalog for this car at home. This was actually a dealer installed option, which is pretty cool that it still has it and it's intact. As you can tell out back, it has the stock NA exhaust on it from Nissan. Pretty cool, it still has the Nissan engraving on it. It's in very good condition. We've got the GTST taillights, Altec Japan badge, which this is really cool in my opinion that this is still present. I do know that from looking at this bumper has been resprayed and that's been reapplied, which is cool that it still has that. Because a lot of times when a respray happens, you don't get all those badges back. This one also has the Skyline 26 badge. This is a pretty unique badge as well. Being it is a 2.6 liter inline six, it still carries a 2.6 badge, just doesn't have turbos. Now there is one funky thing about this car that is my main pet peeve, and that's up front. Let's go check it out. After talking to Tamura-san, who is a representative for Nissan, I've gotten to know him pretty well over the years through my friends here at Top Rank. And this was actually his first project that he ever did when he was hired by Nissan, which makes this car a little bit more special to me with him being my friend. And he explained to me that when these cars were new from the factory, we'll pop it up on the screen here, but there used to be an SS logo right here below this passenger side headlight, right in this flat section. Now this car has had this bumper resprayed, and that logo is no longer present. And for me, that's tough because that's one of the defining characteristics of this car. And the story that Mr. Tamura told us was that Nissan actually spent $1 million picking out this paint because they wanted a paint with a metallic flake in it that was magnetic. And so they made a stencil of some sort. After they sprayed the paint, they put the stencil over and they dragged a magnet over it, and it created this sort of 3D effect with the SS logo and basically left it on the bumper to dry. Man, is that a cool touch and a cool story to go along with a really neat car. And the fact that that's not present, it really just guts me. So if this car does end up in my collection, I think I'm gonna have to find a way to either recreate that. Maybe Mr. Tamura and I can recreate it together. Maybe a fun video for us to create. Right, all that said, I've got some decisions to make here. You know, if we wanted a Built by Legends car, we could have one. We need to order it. We'd need to source a chassis, which is actually part of the fun would be finding a good chassis to have sent over to Garage Yoshida in Japan and have the boys at Built by Legends actually put their touch on it for us. Or we could simply just go with the Land Evo 5, which is pretty cool in and of its own right. Or I could lean towards the Altec, which is something that I've already leaned into pretty hard. I've already got a couple of them in the fleet, and this would kind of help round out my personal collection of Altec. So I need some time to think about this. Until I have a time to make a decision, I want to showcase this certain R32 to you guys that you might recognize. It's still here at Top Rank Importers. This is a car that we built on the channel. You may be familiar with it. If you're not, check out the playlist. This car is pretty epic. Let me pull it out and show you guys. This is the 1989 Nissan GTST that we built in the throttle shop. Basically overhauled this whole car from engine rebuild, full interior rewrap with full leather interior and suede. We couldn't leave here without showcasing it once again. In fact, instead of me talking about it, why don't we just have a quick walk around? Obviously, you guys can see it's on air suspension. It's got work 3-piece wheels, Falcon RT660s as always. We've got our Rocket Bunny Pandem body kit, wide body on the GTST, making it more like a GTR style. We've got the RB20 engine that Quinn went through and basically rebuilt from the bottom up. We've got a forward-facing ISR performance intake manifold throttle body setup. We've got GK Tech brake master cylinder stopper. We've got a Garrett turbo, and it's all controlled by a Link ECU. It was tuned by our friend Jimmy Oakes. We've got Mishimoto radiator, a bunch of Greddy products, a lot of Platinum Racing performance products in here as well, including their cam trigger kit, their radiator stays, Leask spec, overflow, breather can. What else we got? Oh, the interior, as I mentioned, is fully redone in suede and leather, paired with some Recaro adjustables, Imperial floor mats, and as we showed you guys previously on that nice R33 from the boys over at Built by Legends, we have nice leather stitching in here, tying everything together a little differently than the way they did it, but also very classy and a nice touch. Man, it smells like a new car in here. I love it. Suede headliner. And one of my favorite parts about this car is actually the sound system. And playing the music for you guys now through the camera is not gonna do it any justice. It's got a subwoofer in the trunk. All of the interior speakers have been replaced. We've got a doubled-in CarPlay head unit in here from Pioneer. Greddy steering wheel. This thing is really top to bottom, a really cool project and one of the most complete cars that's ever left our shop. So if you guys are in the market for an R32, I definitely suggest checking out Top Rank's website, and maybe this one's still available. This is a car you can purchase, take it to a show, and start winning trophies straight out of the gate. It is that good.